Rhine II by Andreas Gursky. Welcome. Today we're looking at one of the most expensive photographs ever sold at auction. And yet, at first glance, it appears to show almost nothing. This is Rhine II, created by the German photographer Andreas Gursky in 1999. In 2011, it sold at Christie's in New York for just over $4 million. That fact alone tends to provoke strong reactions, but once you spend some time with this image, the price starts to make a strange kind of sense. Let's begin with the man behind the lens. Andreas Gursky was born in Leipzig in 1955, but grew up in Düsseldorf, West Germany, in a family deeply embedded in the world of commercial photography. His father and grandfather were both professional photographers, so the camera was never a novelty for Gursky. It was simply the language of the household. He studied at the Folkwang University of the Arts in Essen and later at the Kunstakademie Düsseldorf under the legendary duo Bernd and Hilla Becher. The Bechers were masters of a cold, systematic, almost scientific approach to photography. They spent decades documenting industrial structures, water towers, coal bunkers, blast furnaces, always frontal, always gray, always stripped of drama. That sensibility left a permanent mark on Gursky. Over the decades that followed, Gursky developed into one of the defining photographers of our era, known especially for his monumental large-format prints, his eye for repetition and pattern, and his use of digital manipulation, not to deceive, but to distill. Now let's look at Rhine II itself. What do we see? 6 horizontal bands, gray sky, a thin strip of green on the far bank, a wide expanse of water, the Rhine, flowing through the German landscape near Düsseldorf, another strip of grass in the foreground, and at the very bottom a narrow sliver of path or road. That's it. No boats, no bridges, no human figures, no trees, nothing that might anchor this image in a specific time or place. And that erasure is entirely intentional. Gursky digitally removed a factory building and some dog walkers that were originally visible in the scene. He wasn't documenting a river. He was constructing an idea of a river, or perhaps something even more fundamental than that. The composition is almost aggressively simple. Everything in this photograph is horizontal. Every element runs parallel to every other element. The sky does not curve. The water does not bend. The image has the geometry of an abstract painting. Think of Mark Rothko's stacked rectangles or Barnett Newman's zip paintings. In fact, Rhine II is often discussed in the same breath as those artists, because it raises exactly the same question they raised. How much can you strip away before a picture stops being a picture? Gursky's answer seems to be quite a lot. The colors are subdued, silvery greens, gray blues, the kind of palette you associate with Northern Europe in winter or early spring. There's a flatness to the light that feels almost deliberately uninviting. This is not a romantic landscape. There's no golden hour here, no spectacular clouds. And yet the image holds you. Part of it is scale. In its original form, Rhine II measures roughly 185 by 363 centimeters. It is almost 4 meters wide. At that size, the photograph stops being something you look at and becomes something you stand inside. The water fills your entire field of vision. The silence of the image becomes physical. There's something else worth noting. By removing every human trace from the scene, Gursky created a landscape that could be from almost any moment in history, or from no specific moment at all. The Rhine has been flowing through that valley for millions of years. What we're seeing here is not a photograph of a river on a particular Tuesday afternoon in 1999. We're seeing an image of time itself, of the deep, indifferent continuity of the natural world. In that sense, the photograph is quietly philosophical. It asks, what remains when all the noise of human presence is removed? What does the world look like when it's not performing for anyone? The answer Gursky gives us is, it looks like this: calm, structured, indifferent, beautiful in a way that refuses to flatter. Rhine II is also part of a much larger body of work in which Gursky consistently seeks out the structures that organize modern life, the patterns hidden in stock exchanges, supermarket shelves, apartment blocks, rave crowds. In each case, he finds a vantage point and a framing that reveals the underlying geometry. The human figures in his other works often become pixels in a larger pattern, almost interchangeable, almost abstract. Here he simply removes them. The structure he's after in Rhine II is elemental: land, water, sky. The oldest pattern there is. Whether or not you think a photograph of a river is worth $4 million, Rhine II has earned its place in the history of photography. It demonstrates that photography can operate at the same level of ambition as painting, that it can be conceptual, philosophical, and visually rigorous all at once. Gursky didn't just point a camera at a river. He asked what a river could mean, and then he constructed an image equal to that question. And that, perhaps, is worth something after all. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis interesting, consider subscribing for more explorations of photography and contemporary art.